Frosty and I are here on Monday night. Remember last week I had Santa with me? Tonight I thought I would put up Frosty so you could just see how wonderful he is. I'm Pat Sloan. This is my neighborhood. Thank you for being here, friends. I'm so glad to see you again on Monday night. It's awesome to be able to chat. I have some stuff I did this week that had just made me think of things. One was doing some sample blocks, testing things out, a little bit of fussy cutting, some finishes, new block of the month announcement, and a few more things. So that is what's on the agenda for the Fireside chat, which is a nice sort of sit and chat. Don't do much sewing. Occasionally I do, but not too often. And also be sure you saw my pop-in video I did on Sunday. I was talking about binding, and I tried that out from my living room. So those are short, the pop-ins. They're like, 3-5 minutes long. So Frosty, let's talk about him. This is the other panel that I mentioned last week. We have these panels come in a bag, and they're quite large. What is it? There's the Santa one. I'm trying to find the size of it. You can see it up there. They're like 48, something like that. I can't find the size real quick. Oh, they're 64 by 74. So they're quite big. And there was the Santa one that I had up there last week. This one, I can show you. I'll just lean over. Whoops, I'll lean over this way. There, if I scoot in, you can see there's like a label on the side and a little mini snowman, and then all of the words are up on that left side. So that means you can just basically cut off that left side, and then you have a piece that you can just use without having to do something else, like I showed you with the snowman, where I'm going to cover up some of the wording things and then cut them from the back side. Now, some of our friends have taken this and just done a binding on it. Some have done a border. This is perfect. I think Frosty can stay out in January. Of course, he's a snowman, and maybe into February. We just decorate him with some hearts. I think he could stay out. So I was looking at what some of our friends did, and they like the border idea. Although binding is perfect, just put binding on and it's done. But if you could see, the scarf is red and white stripe. So I'm thinking, because originally I thought maybe a plaid, because I have this extra piece of poinsettia, but it's pink, and I don't know that I really wanted pink on there. I thought, I think a darker or plaid or something like that. So I'm going to look around. And speaking of red and white stripe, I used that for my Christmas runner, which is done. And I did the binding by hand this time. And I did a little pop-in video yesterday, so if you missed that, go back and watch it here on YouTube, or if you're on Facebook or Instagram, pop on over to YouTube, and there's just the prior video. So that was really nice. I liked doing the red and white stripe binding, and now this can go on my living room table, my coffee table. And I didn't buy a poinsettia this year, which I normally do. And I did see some red and white striped flowers, like a bouquet of flowers. So I'm thinking I'm going to go get those and just enjoy that for the days up until Christmas. Because last year Greg bought me a really large, beautiful poinsettia, but we just didn't get out to do that this year. So I was like, next year we'll do that again. So snack chat, let me just tell you about a cookie. Because my friend Sue was sharing a picture of some cookies she got because they reminded her of her dad. Her dad always got them at Christmas time. And so, I think that's a lot of what happens with us with food. Like there are certain foods that just bring back a flood of wonderful memories. And so I had been looking all fall for these ginger snaps, these ginger cookies, and they haven't had them the past couple years. So the prior they had, but I saw an ad and it says ginger snaps with Stouffer's, which I don't think is the brand that I got before. And so and they're open. So this is what I did. I went and got them because I thought, well, they were on sale. So I was like, okay, I'll get them. There's way more cookies than I need, so I'm going to send some to my neighbor. But I thought I needed to see if they tasted the same, and they do. I was so excited. There's what they look like. They're just a brown cookie. They're not terribly exciting when you look at them, but the smell, they're ginger molasses, and they have a really wonderful taste. You know, they're full of flavor. Now, one of our friends on Instagram wrote me and she said, take it and warm it up. And I'm like, I never thought about that. They're very hard cookies. Even as a kid, they were hard cookies, like, you know, so they're really, really, you know, they're hard cookie. So I did it. I just popped one. She said to put butter on it afterwards, but I didn't have the butter out, and I knew if I microwaved the cookie, it would get hard really quick again, because I used to microwave cookies at work all the time out of the vending machine, because then they tasted like they're out of the oven and not the vending machine. So I popped it in for like 10 seconds, and it was soft, just like it come out of the oven. Excuse me. Tastes like just came out of the oven, and it was super, super nice. Although I wouldn't warm more than one at a time, because I'm sure they would get like really like unedible after you warmed them up. But I'll have to try butter on it next time. So ginger snaps, if you are looking for something different, and I'll link you to that. Speaking of that, there's always links, and at the videos, the links are under the video. You're watching the video, right? Underneath the video, there's text you can open up. Depending on where you are watching this, how you open the text varies, because the apps, what you have on your phone or your tablets, are like these things, funnels that change the way things look, rather than if you just went direct to the website. So they tend to squish things up, and you need to look around for a little arrow that opens up all the text, because people are always writing me, there's no text. Well, there is text. You just need to open it up, and there it is. And I give you all the links to everything. So I will link you to these so that you can see them in more detail in case you need them. I'm looking for something different. They really are lovely, dipped in coffee or tea or hot chocolate. They're just so yummy. Okay, I did a few other things this week, and while I was kind of preparing for, you know, things that are coming up, I ended up doing some test blocks. And I thought, you know what, let's talk about test blocks, because I think that they're highly underrated. People, you know how we are. We're like, no, I can't take time to do a test block. I just want to sew. But if you have made a quilt, or you're starting to make a quilt and you're getting through it for one of two reasons. One, maybe you're going through it and the block is something you've never made before, and it's maybe not turning out quite right, and you're reading the directions, and you're using the good fabric or the fabric for the project. Well, if you did a test block first, you could test out the directions for a block you're not familiar with. If you think that it might be a little tricky, you know, sometimes blocks are a little bit more complex. They're worth it because they're so gorgeous. But sometimes we need to make a test block so we're sure we understand the directions before we would use the fabric for the project, which we might not have a lot of. We may not have a lot of extra fabric. So do a test block. The other thing is for color. And I think people don't often do a test block for color, because when you're working, you might have in your head, oh, I think this combination is going to look great, I think this is going to be fabulous, and maybe you start making a bunch of blocks, and then you sit there and you go, that's I don't like that. And then you don't always necessarily know why you don't like it, and so you're analyzing it. But if you would do some test blocks of the colorways, even if it's maybe just in solids, so you don't have to use the fabric that you might be limited on, but it'll let you test what is going to happen and how it's going to interact. So what I was doing is I'm doing some of these stars, which are going to be going in a project, and I had this vision for this star of what I had a vision of was a very light star, so that it would not compete with the blocks. That was my idea. I would do something that would sort of just blend in. And so I did this test block, which I just love. I have this glittery stuff. This is some older fabric, and I think this is some cotton steel, which is I think one of their older lines, but it's cut kind of, I just love the block. So I was like, great. And I put it up with the ones that it's going to be with, and it's like, it did not, and it did not work. It was just not, it's just too different, and it didn't give the effect that I wanted. So what I did next is I went hunting around, and I thought, okay, I need to go, this is totally different, right? These are tonal, this is red. So I thought, well, instead I'll do something with this really awesome red fabric I have that's got this really sort of starbursty thing. And because this is a large middle on the star, I would use that in the middle. So that was my idea. So I first cut a piece of this and I just placed it over top. And I thought, well, could I have the stars still, the points in that sort of glittery stuff? And that didn't look good either. So I ended up thinking this is now a very strong color, so which is nothing blendy. This is a look at me kind of fabric. Well, how can I make that look at me a little toned down? And I thought, well, I will take the star points of this with this and make them less distinct, less strong, more blendy. So this is what I ended up with. Ta-da! Is I had this, I'm going through my stash. So this is some of Victoria Finley Wolf's earlier line, and she did this sort of jaggy stripe. And so it doesn't have a regular, stripe feel. You can see here, there's just all this sort of jaggy stuff, which I think is super cool. But what happens is when I pull this back, you do see the center, but then there's not as strong a points. Rather than have like solid reds or this, as strong points, they are a little bit less strong, which is in the scheme of the project, which you'll see in January. It'll work fine. It'll be good. I liked it. I liked how it gave the effect and how it worked with the other blocks. So that worked out. But if I had just gone and made 6 of these without putting them up on the design wall, without looking, without checking, I would have spent a lot of time and a lot of fabric. I would have had 6 cute blocks. I could have made another quilt, but instead I have this one, which goes in I have a shoebox of blocks, tester blocks that didn't, work out or were extra, whatever. So that'll go in there, and it's very full. Sometime this winter, I want to open that box and put them all up on the design wall so that I can just play around with them and maybe make a quilt just out of those. So while I was doing that, I had, this star, that center fabric I picked needed to be fussy cut. So fussy cutting, if that's a new term for you, means that I wanted to center the image. So I wanted to take or place the image, cut around an image so that it doesn't get lost. I didn't want to just chop it so that thing was like half in the corner or something. I wanted that smack dab in the middle of my block. So I was lucky. This is a 6.5 inch center. So I have a 6.5 inch ruler, and if you don't have any of these, you should. They're really useful. You use them all of the time for all kinds of things. But I want to show you how I fussy cut on this star, because I was lucky that this fabric was probably designed to fussy cut. I don't even know who the designer was. I don't have any good edging on it. So whoever you were, you knew we wanted to cut these stars out. So here's what it is. I mean, this is quite a spectacular and fun fabric. So on this ruler, you can see the white cross marks, and right in the middle, they did a little bullseye. And luckily, what I did is I'm gonna pull you down here just a little bit closer so we can see what's going on. There we go. So it's going to be kind of hard to see this, but I took that bullseye, which is right here, this middle, and I put it right on the star in the middle of these. See that little star? So I just circled that star. And then I shifted the ruler so that the cross beams were coming out. This is a very symmetrical star on the fabric. So I could come right through and angle right through these points like this. And then I did right through the centers like that. And then I was able to just cut out the center of the star like this. And it's perfectly put in the center. I couldn't do that without a ruler and without markings and something to look for. So when you are working on a project and you know that you want to cut an image out and really make it very distinct, like really showcase it, then finding the center of it, working with a ruler is the way to go. Now, if you've not done a lot of that, and I highly recommend, my friends Nicole and Elizabeth wrote this book called The Fussy Cutter Sampler, and I do think it is the best one. It's very straightforward, plus it gives you lots of sort of extra things to think about. Like just how to think about finding the images and then how to cut them out. So let's see, I'm going to find one page here. So here was one where they were taking pieces from a border motif. So that was what was going on, how to look at it. So that's where it's a little bit more, gives you all kinds of different options. Here's a block. They wrote it as a sampler, so you could actually create a sampler quilt and use your fabrics to do this. I like this one because they found little tiny images for in here, and then the bigger images. And just showing you then also in the front, it tells you all how to measure. They have a whole thing on how to put stripes in, fussy cut stripes, so that they do what you want to do. Here, I'll show you one more page. This is a great one. So showing you how to do that and how to think through it. So I'll link you up to that book. It's well worth having. It's always, just even for just the blocks, if you're looking for something. But if you want a reference, you're like, I don't remember exactly how to line it up, and I'm trying to get something smaller out of a bigger ruler, they've got all that in there. Yay. Yay. So we had several of the block of the months going on, and new ones coming up. And so let me just tell you about the Aurifil one. So the Aurifil one ended on Sunday. I gave you the link to the interview for Laura Pyland, who is our December designer of the month. And this, I have started working on a layout. So, whoops, so this has already been sewn into something. There's my version of her block. And she has a great story to go along with that. Because her last name is Pyland. She was a math teacher, and she does all kinds of things that have to do with pi and circles. So the story was really cute about what inspired her quilt. Now these are my blocks from the Aurifil Sew Along that I'm organizing to a very simple layout. And this one is going in a little bit more interesting layout for the designer's blocks from the Aurifil Block of the Month. So if you're not familiar with that, I've run it for 10 years, and so we're starting in 2020. We'll start up, we'll do another one. And what I do is I have selected and invited 12 designers to join Aurifil and me for the year. And I interview a different person each month. And this year, and then they do a block. So that's where the blocks come from. And you can make the block, and then you can win. You can submit your block design at the Aurifil website, and you might win a box of thread, and so it's really fun to sew along. The blocks are very interesting. The designers are not restricted in any way. I let them design whatever they want in their style. They write their own patterns, so you get a chance to meet 12 new people and see the type of work they do, learn a bit about them, and then make a fun block. Some of the blocks are challenging, some of the blocks are easy. There's all different techniques. So if you are looking to do something a little bit more than a simple block, the Aurifil one would be fabulous, because it's very much a big surprise every time. It's like, wow, because even if you go look at the designer, you might see, oh, they might be known for one thing, but then they design their block in something else that they're passionate about. And so that's what's been really fun about it. The cool part is for 2020, and I announced this a couple weeks ago, we are going to be using the new boxes that Aurifil is putting out every month. So they have a new collection of 12 mini boxes of 3 spools. So 3 of the, three of the larger, I'll just show you this, of this size spool. These are what I call the regular size spool. So there'll be 3 of these in each box, and they are based on color, and then they're named after a city in Italy. So only the one I can remember off the top of my head is Pompeii, and that is red. And so there's 3 shades of red, and then the designer who has that one will use either Italy or Pompeii or red as their inspiration for the block that they designed for us, and then I'll be interviewing them. And so that's really fun, because if you want to collect thread colors and get a really strong collection of 12 different colors and then shades within it, this will be the perfect time to do that. So I'll be linking you to all that as we go along each month, and that comes out the 15th. The Aurifil is the 15th of the month. Okay, the other block of the month that I announced on Friday was mine, that I design and host for the Like So website company, who also runs Free Quilt Patterns and Stashify. And I've been doing this with them for, I don't know, 7-8 years. And every year I do a new project. Last year we did the space theme, and this year I'm going out west. So that's the name of the so long, out west. And I did a bundle of fabric. Now, we did sell out of that bundle already, but I'm waiting to hear if we might be able to do a few more. So I wanted to talk to you about ways to think about putting your own bundle together. So this is what I chose for Out West, and it has there's 15 fat quarters and then 2 other pieces. I don't trust my memory to tell you what they are, but I know it's 15 fat quarters, and then we've got a border piece, and then 2 other chunks, and then another chunk of fabric. So this is like the background and the border. So I picked fabrics that had, really, they kind of all went with this navy and red floral. That is what kicked off the collection. And I picked navies and sort of reds and turquoises and golds, and then this sort of beigey pinks. So that was what we're working with. But you can see that this collection doesn't have, like, there's no like whites or anything. It's a custom, it's not a fat quarter bundle. We built the custom for this. But I thought I'm going to show you how to look at another bundle and decide whether it would work or not. So let's take a look, because you can certainly do other things. You don't have to do the exact colors I'm doing. I know sometimes people do because they love it. They're like, oh my gosh, those are perfect. It's like, here was a paisley in here. This is really pretty. These are our art gallery fabrics. Okay, so I have this bundle here that I think, what is it called? Drawing Room, that I think is absolutely gorgeous. And in a way, I mean, it's not like this, but it is a very cohesive, and it's more than 15 pieces. I think there's like 23 pieces in here. So what I would do is, because we're only going to need 15, if you have the bundle, you can mix and match a bit more, so you can have more variety. But you can also, let me see, this, trying to get it untied. All right. So this bundle has, let's just look at what it has. It has grays, and then it has like this, get a little closer, sort of like a light creamy background, which is actually very similar to this creamy background. So there's some more grays, and then it has a yellowy, a golden color and grays, and then the purpley pink. So those are the colorways. Whereas I have navy, red, sort of turquoise, gold, and pink. I mean, and beige. So these have a little less colors, but you could go and add, I don't think you have to add any more. I think you could just make all of this work and just go through, and probably what you would use less of in here are these super tonals, because these are going to read more probably like your background, but you might pop a few in. That piece from the line is really pretty, make a nice background. Or if you like gray, there's a really soft gray. That would be a nice background for these. Unless you really, really love purple, you could go for this light pink. That would be really great for a background. So this drawing room would be one that I think would be really gorgeous in the project. Now, you might be someone who loves strong colors, so I just happened to grab this one to talk about. And this is from Riley Blake, from my friend Jill, and it's called It's the Berries. So this also, I don't know how many are in here, but this is also more than 15. So basically, you could do a quilt in the red and the blacks. and then just pull in maybe some of the reds, or some of the, like here's a, is that a plaid? Yeah, so here's a plaid. So you might pull in some of the plaid, and then down here there's another plaid. So you might pull, you know, might pull these in. But this would be a way to keep it a more solid sort of bundle of colors, like red, black, and white, basically. You know, use a white background, or some of these tonals like this as your background. That would be super cool. And then I'll show you one other one, which will give you a totally different look, is my friend Joanna Figueroa of Fig Tree. Oh, her lines are always so gorgeous. Now I would take and remove the green, and I would do this with the reds and the aquas and these tans. That's what I would pull in for the line. I think that that would make a really pretty quilt using all of these aquas and reds, just gorgeous reds. It's got like little cherry-like thing on there. And then I would just leave the greens out and the beiges. So this would give me enough from that bundle to work with. And this one is called, I'll link you up to it. This is called Scarlet and Sage. She has several fabric lines. So that one would work really good. And this is what I'm using. And when I find out if we can make any more, I know I thought one of the fabrics there wasn't very much of it, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was more than I thought. That I won't know until I hear back from the fat quarter shop that I work with to put these together. So whatever you use will be fun. The block of the month out west is, they're not difficult blocks, but they're going to be a little bit more to them than the ones I do on Block Wednesday. Block Wednesday are always like super simple. That's the whole goal of that, is just to have fun, just to be able to sew up things. I will have a bundle for that I'm still waiting on, so I haven't given you the info on that one yet until it comes out. I'm hoping this week. We had like one piece of fabric that we're waiting on from the manufacturer to come in, and so I'm hoping that that comes in the next few days. If for some reason it doesn't, and we have to shift and start the second Wednesday of the month, we'll just do that, so it won't be too big of a deal. But that's called Children's Games, and you've been listing so many fun games. I loved seeing that last week on the Fireside Chat. You like listed all these fun games. It was like so cool. Okay, what else do I have? Okay, the Drive Down Bonnie Lane and the Glow, those will start again right after Christmas. So I took a little break because we don't need to be worrying about getting those done. Of course, you have the pattern, so you can work forward if you want. But we'll start up again after Christmas with those. And then the charity, that's the other thing, the charity quilt along is going to be, it starts in February, and I always do the charity quilt along, and my piece is then auctioned to raise funds, and it's for Make-A-Wish. So that'll be coming up, and I will be using Bonnie Lane. So I'll be using my fabric line, and I'm very excited to see it in my fabric line. It's going to, we'll be putting it on white, so you can buy a solid or use white that you have in your stash, so that'll help you stretch your budget for that one. And there is a bundle out there for that already. So it's a little bit smaller than the Fat Quarter Bundle. So if you happen to buy my Fat Quarter Bundle already, that will work for the charity, which is called Bloomtopia. All right, that is those things. I wanted to show you a super cute little box that came today. It just came today, so I had to show you. Have you seen these little yardstick boxes? Okay, let me open it up. I didn't even get it open yet. I just love containers. I cannot tell you how much I love containers and bags. Who else loves bags, containers? Yeah, raise your hand. How many do you have? We're not going there. I'm not telling you how many I have. There we go. Look how cute this is. It's like the little ruler boxes. So I am so excited to get that. Fat Quarter Shop sent it to me. I'll put it back in its little case. So cute. I'll link you up to those. You can get those too if you like little containers and little boxes like I do. The other thing that I've been thinking about, let me just grab these, is that I wanted to do a small cross stitch. You know, I am not a big cross stitcher, but I want to have a little handwork project. I really want to be able to do some small cross stitch. So I picked up this guy, which I think is so cute. I think I'm going to do him first because he's a snowman, and he's got little holly and little Santa hat, but so he'll be like past the year when I get it done, but I'm going to do him. And then I picked up this like hot little one with hot chocolate. They make them into little like pin bowl, like you could just make them into little pillows or pin cushions or a little hanger, door hanger things. It's got some rickrack on it. I think that's so cute. And then the other one I picked up, which I really seriously want to do, and I need to find, I like this little board that it's on. I have to go look around for what options there are for that, or also just make them into little quilt panels, make a quilt maybe. But they're, each square is pretty small. I don't know the size, but they're not real big. But there's one for each season. Can you see? And I thought they're just the right size. All three of these are just the right size. I needed to get something little so that I can finish it. I need to have more completion on those for me. Since I don't do tons of cross stitch. I'm like, I just need to make something small and finish it. So that is my goal for those. Now we had a giveaway, I had a goodie bag last week, and the question last week was for, you know, what is your favorite children's game, and your childhood game memories, that kind of a thing. And the winner is Jean V, and Jean said that her favorite childhood game was actually being outside playing kick the can. It's like, really, Jean? Kick the can. I think that's awesome. And she liked to play with the neighborhood kids, and they would go out first thing in the morning, and they didn't come home until their mother rang the ship's bell that was hanging by their back door. Now, you must have had a cool mom. My mom didn't have a ship's bell, but I think I would have thought that was really cool. Of course, we were in an apartment complex. I'm not sure how well the neighbors would have liked having a ship's bell. So she also loved going from yard to yard to see who was home to play. And I remember doing that too. I remember in our one apartment complex we were in for quite a long time, it had big sort of lawn areas between the buildings. They weren't like all jammed up. You know, that was back in the day, I guess, when they did it differently. So you had these big lawn areas, and you could just sort of go between them and go see who was out or around, or go knock on somebody's door and find out, is Mindy home? You know, could she come out and play? I remember doing all that. So Jean will get this sort of Christmassy bundle that had the Christmas book in it, and I will email you, Jean. Now, I am going to do Fireside Chats next Monday, which is right before Christmas, and the following Monday, right before New Year's. It all works out. It's easy to do. So I will, none of them are on the eve, which is good. So I'm just going to keep going right on through with them. So if you're hanging out, if you need somebody to talk to, I will be here on Monday nights. So this is a whole bunch of, sort of a goodie bag of a bunch of different things. I'll just show you some of them. You look at collections, got nice big spool of Aurifil thread. Have needles, some hand needles from Bowen. So if you are looking for different sizes or want to try different sizes, a seam ripper, and it's got tweezers on the other end, so that's kind of cool. It's a two-sided, so open it, or you can go the other way and pull the seam ripper. Jack, our friend Jack, everybody can use an extra jack. Plus, it's all closed up, which is nice, so that you could toss this in your sewing bag. Have a little, I know it's a bunny, but I just thought I had to do it. I don't have a Christmas one, I have a bunny one. Little rotary cutter pin. This one has this collection. I've got a little sewing bag, one of my charm packs, ta-da, some wonder clips, which are the best if you don't have wonder clips, a little 2-pack of awesome cutters. These are what I use just all the time. and a bag pattern from my friend Kathy. So if you like to make bags, or if you've always wanted to try it, this one can convert and actually use it sort of as a backpack too. The Bangle Buddy. So it's a really neat bag. So that will go to somebody, and you want to go to my website to leave your answer. And this week I want to find out what your favorite quilting tool is that is not the sewing machine. Not the sewing machine. What besides the sewing machine is your favorite tool? Jack the Ripper. Seam rippers. Gotta have a good seam ripper. So leave that over at my website. So it's been really great to see you. Thank you for using all of our links during your shopping. We really appreciate it because it helps our small family business. And also, when I give you links, I'm giving you the best prices I can find for you. So hopefully that you like that. When you're shopping, you might as well get the best price. So I hope I'm doing that for you, okay? I'm Pat Sloan. I can't wait to talk to you again. See you later.